We have a weird mix of super high-end products and indie products to look at today. So, you always hope that things are all going to come out at the same time, but they don't, or you don't acquire them all at the same time. But in this case, I've acquired an indie brand that I enjoy and then a super high-end brand that I really love. So we have new products today. So we're going to take a deep dive into the new Chantecaille Biolifting Concealer. I love Chantecaille based products. And then we're also going to take a look at a new shade, well, it's new to me, of mascara from Prada, the brown. And then what else do we have? We have a new shade of the Gucci lip tints, which you know I love if you follow the channel. This is the Lucy Orange. We have the new Dior setting spray, which is new to me. It's been out for a little while. And then from an indie brand that I really enjoy, we have the new Skyfire palette from What's Up Beauty. So we're going to take a look at that. So if that sounds good to you, then please consider liking, subscribing, following along, shopping my links, all that goodness. Let's get going. Unsolicited eye advice. Okay, I'm going to start with a little bit of my Dr. Dennis Goss lip treatment. Which is a product I really enjoy, although it tingles. And then let's go ahead and put my base on. Now for my base today, for the primer, I'm going to use the Chantecaille Sheer Glow, and I have mine in bronze. They have a gold shade. Does that sound better? I'm sure. They have a gold shade, they have a bronze shade, they have a pink shade. Well, this is the bronze shade, which the rest of the year is a little bit dark for me. But in the summer, I think it works really beautiful under foundation. And all of these sheer glow tints that Chantecaille come out with, these are so beautiful by themselves or as a primer. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw my base on, and then we can look at the concealers. For my base, I'm going to use the Chantecaille Future Skin Oil-Free Gel Foundation, and I have mine in the shade Macadamia. If you have never tried this product, wait for a sale when it's 25% off, because Chantecaille is very expensive. But this is one of my favorite, I was going to say top 5. It's probably one of my favorite 3 foundations on the market. It's so beautiful. It's got a gel feeling. It's very cooling. I really love it. So I'm just going to put a base on of that. And last year, let me grab a brush. Last year, they came out with a series of a color extension. So Macadamia is one of the newer colors. But let me grab some. My brush, it doesn't take a ton. And you'll see that this will lighten up that sheer glow tint that I put on a second ago. It goes on, it's cooling. It goes on so beautifully. It's a light to medium coverage, which is, what I normally like, unless I want something super high coverage. I like these kind of light to medium coverages, but it can be built up. In fact, let me grab a little bit more and just put it on, and we'll see if we can build it up a little bit, because I do have a little bit of redness and a few little spots on me. So let me go ahead. Yeah, that works. It's such a beautiful, if you've never tried it, it is such a beautiful foundation. Now, Chantecaille can be very expensive, don't get me wrong, and I understand that. But what I like to do, and they just had one, and they will have another one around the time of the Nordstrom sale, is they will do like 25% off. And so I like to get my products then. And then, of course, you can go through like Nordstrom or Bergdorf Goodman when they have beauty sales as well. because they carry Chantecaille. Now they all have different things they carry, so you want to be careful. Like, I don't believe the new concealer is available on Nordstrom or Bergdorf's yet, but it is on the Chantecaille website. Okay, so look at that. I have a beautiful base, so quick, so easy. It looks so healthy, and it's not overly glowy. It's got a nice natural finish. I love, love, love the mix of a sheer glow tint and the Chantecaille foundation. Now, they've come out with a new concealer, and they've already had a concealer. So you might be like, why are they coming out with a new one? Well, the one that they have had, and they've had it for a few years now, is the La Camouflage Stilo. I have mine in the shade, it's not going to tell me. No, of course it's not. That would be too easy. But it is one of those very kind of light to light medium concealers that kind of reminds me of the Victoria Beckham or the YSL Touche Eclat. It's the pen kind, and it's good as a concealer, but it's particularly good to highlight areas of the face. But like I said, it's a light coverage. The new concealer is the Biolifting Concealer, and I have mine in the shade Ivory. I think that might be the shade in both of these, but this is the shade Ivory, and this one is a medium to full coverage, and where this one's got a very light radiant finish, this one's a little more natural. So you know what I think I'm going to do today is I'm going to put one on one side and one on the other, and let's see how they look. So let me go ahead and push out some of this pen one. And I do really like this product. But you can see it's a brightening pen. It works well under the eyes, but it's really like that Touche Eclat where it's meant to be more of a brightener. This new one, and a gorgeous package, by the way. Is that a metal? I think it's plastic, but it looks like metal. Okay, this one's a little peachier. So I think what I have is maybe the Stilo in vanilla and the new Biolifting in Ivory. But you can see this one's a little glowier and a little more brightening. This one's a little bit more natural, and it's going to have more coverage. So let's go ahead and try these. I'm going to go ahead and put the Stilo on areas of my face that I want to be a little brighter, because I think that's where this really works well. And I've used it under my eyes, you know, for a long time, but I am glad that they've come out with a more kind of medium to full coverage product. This is a really good brightening pen, works really well. So let's try, and let me grab a concealer brush, something kind of soft and easy to work with. Gripping television. And I'll just grab a Sonia Krushik one. And this is the new Le Corrector Biolifting Concealer. And I think this is 58. And like I said, I think it's only on the Chantecaille website right now, but it'll come to Nordstrom and Bergdorf and other places that carry Chantecaille. We have Dillard's in Oklahoma City, and I went by, we have a very bougie Dillard's, and I went by the other day, and they did not have the new concealer. They do still have the Stilo, and I don't think there's any talk of removing the Stilo or replacing it. In fact, on their website, it kind of tells you how to use the two together. So let's see what this looks like. I would say this is kind of a medium consistency. It's thin. It's not overly heavy. Reminds me a little bit of the consistency of like the Westman Atelier or the new Chanel. Well, not the new one, the one that came out in January. Not the new super lightweight one or low coverage one. This has a natural finish. So it does kind of remind me of the Prada one. I really like that. Okay, let's go ahead and put a little bit more. See if we can build it up to color correct. As not fit for print beauty, says the Pits of Despair. And I'm going to pounce this in now. I mean, that has a nice brightening effect too. Now, if I didn't want any brightening effect, I could have gone for macadamia in this as well, and it would have been a perfect match. But I like a little brighter. I think that looks nice. I wonder if I should powder it. You know what? Let's powder one side and not the other. So for that, I'm going to grab my Prada powder. And let me clean off that brush. And let me just grab a little bit of that Prada powder and pounce it on this side. Now you'll have to remember with me that it's this side over here that has the Prada. And this side has none. So we'll see by the time we're done if one looks dramatically better than the other. And if you wanted a little bit more glow, I guess, since it is more matte, you could use a glowy setting powder. The Prada one is a universal. It looks really good so far. I don't have any creasing. It's not catching anywhere. Okay. It does sort of remind me of a cross between the Westman Atelier and the Prada. But this trio together, really beautiful. And you could go in with an even brighter shade of this, since it's got a little glow in it, if you wanted to have even more brightening under there. Okay, so Chantecaille has a series of blushes and highlighters. Powder ones, I don't really have those. I don't want to get into that pattern. But what I do have is some of their gel products, and I really like these. I think I have one of their powder highlighters, the one from Christmas this last year. But these gel cheek gelées are really nice. They come in 6 or 8 different colors. A lot of people have been saying that these are similar to the Prada, or not Prada, the Chanel Le Beige that are out right now in that wicker basket set. But they like these better. So let's take a look at this one. I just pulled one, and this is the color Thrill, which is kind of a bronzy color. And I'm just going to place a dollop on the back of my hand here. And then let me grab a brush. And I want to work this in. So this is kind of a red bronzy color. I really like these. These too have that kind of cooling sensation, and they look really beautiful on. I have a peach, I have a pink, I have this bronzy one. They also make a bronzer in this formula, but the reviews on it have said that it pulls really orange, so I haven't tried that. And I'm using a Refro 04. If I wanted to have even more payoff, I could use something that's denser. But I think that looks really beautiful. And look at that beautiful glow it has. It's not crazy, but it's there. And then, like I said, they have a bronzer, they have blush, and they have a highlighter. And I grabbed the highlighter, and I have mine in the shade Sheen. I think there's 2 or 3 of these shades. So let me go ahead and put a little of that on. Now, these can be kind of blinding, so you just need to be careful, but I don't mind that. I like a blinding highlighter sometimes. This one's really beautiful, though. I really like these. I don't know if they get slept on. I don't hear a ton of people talking about them. And I will say, when it comes to, look how beautiful that is. When it comes to Chantecaille, I think I have a couple of their their liquid eyeshadows, but I don't have any of their powder eyeshadows, and from everything I've ever heard, they're just kind of wildly overpriced, and there's not a ton of pigment, at least in the little 3 pans. And then in the standalone ones, they're pretty expensive for the amount of product you get. So I stick mainly to complexion when it comes to Chantecaille. I don't have any of their lip products or anything, but I do really like their complexion. Now, I forgot bronzer, and I was going to pull out my Westman Atelier, but I don't know that I necessarily need it. I look kind of tan right now because of that blush. I'll go in with just a little along the edges. This is a really interesting product too, if you haven't tried it, and I think a lot of people have, because it was a big seller, if not the biggest seller, during the Sephora sale this year. This bronzing duo from Westman Atelier. But look how beautiful that gradient is from the highlighter to that kind of rusty color. Okay, let's do a check on the eyes. Still looking good. Still no creasing. I will say it looks like I have a little bit more hiding of my dark spot on the eye that I set, but I don't know how much of that is because of the concealer, because the Prada powder is a correcting color. It's that green color. So I'm not really sure, how much is because of that. So What's Up Beauty? What's Up Beauty has been around for a bit, and they have put out now 4 palettes. They did not put out one last year, which I thought was kind of interesting, because the one they put out the year before in 2024 was so well reviewed. I was surprised they didn't put one out last year. But I'll just quickly go through them with you. The first was called Desert Monsoon, and I really liked this one. I will say that I had a little bit of trouble with this one getting some of the shadows to adhere. But I have noticed with each progressive one, they have got better and better and better. The next one was called Geodes, and this was a beautiful kind of grungy pastel story. And then the one that everyone seemed to really, really like in 2024 was the one called Dragon Eye, and it is really beautiful, kind of a fall-y palette, and they really excel in shimmers. The new palette they have is called Skyfire, and it's a little bit different. It's got, a lot of neutral mattes, but the shadows that are in here are a little different from like Adept or some of the other indie brands, or even, brands that do eyeshadow really well, like Pat McGrath or something. These don't have as much base as like Adept, so they can be a little bit more versatile. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch these for you on the back of my hand. And we're going to start with the shade Comet, then Haze, Galaxy, and Nebula. So we have Comet, Haze, Galaxy, which is gorgeous, Nebula. This color reminds me a little bit of the color that's in the Half Magic Euphoria palette. Now some of these can be a little chunky, but that's to be expected. Look at that beautiful color there. That's the Galaxy. Okay, so next up we have Sky, Stars, just beautiful, Drift, which is a perfect neutral, and Flare. So here we have Sky, Stars, Drift. So glad this is in this palette, and Flare. Okay, so that's the next row. Really beautiful. You can see some of them are a little smoother than some of the other ones, but really beautiful. Okay, and now we're finishing up here with, I think, the star of this palette, which is Borealis. Really gorgeous shade. Aurora, Horizon, and Midnight, which is, I would say they're black, but it's a little bit milder. So this is Borealis, so beautiful. Doesn't have a ton of base, but it gives that wet look. Okay, let me show you these. So that's the Borealis here. And then this is Aurora, and then the two mattes. And you can see the black is a more approachable shade. So it's a beautiful palette. And we will create, I guess we'll create 2 looks with it. Why not? Let me grab my white before I get black eyeshadow everywhere. Though I don't think this one would be as bad. The one that really gets me every time is the Danessa Myricks one that's in Lightwork, and it's in the new little mini she has. It's a beautiful black, but it is so soft in the pan that if you hit it just right, it'll go everywhere. So you want to be real careful with that. Okay, so let's start. What do we want to do? I really want to feature Borealis and Galaxy. Those are so beautiful. So I'm going to grab, let's see, what do we want? I'll grab a Rephr 14, and I'm going to grab the shade Drift, which I think is so great that they included in this palette. Now I'm just going to place that through my crease. And you probably saw, but I put a little of the concealer on my eyes, but I didn't actually do any primer today, for better or worse. I might want to do like the Pat McGrath Intensify one, because I bet I will get fallout with some of these shadows. But that's such a pretty color. Let me pull you in a little closer. No, I always think it's going to do it. Today's going to be the day, and it's not. I'm going to figure out the camera. It's only been 2 years of doing this. Okay. Really beautiful. And I can go ahead and run a little of that under as well. Okay, so on the outer corner, I'm going to grab Horizon. There's 2 purples in here, or mauves. A cool tone and a little bit warmer. And, well, I would say Horizon's more neutral. I'm going to grab Horizon. It's a little more muted. This reminds me of a color I really like that's in Moonlit Seduction. And these are nice. Like I said, in the early days, I had a little trouble with them, but not now. So I'm going to grab Borealis on my finger. And again, I probably should do a Pat McGrath Intensify wand, but not everybody has that. But a glitter glue or something like that would be helpful. But I'm just going to grab some on my finger and place it on here. And there's a little fallout. It's not crazy though. Of course, warming it up on your finger helps. And I'll go in with a little bit more of that horizon out here just to match it up. I can actually put a little of that under as well. That's a pretty color. It doesn't have base to it though, and so if you really wanted it to stand out, put the horizon color all over the lid and then put this on top, and it'll be so much more impactful. But I think it's really beautiful. Now for the inner corner, there's a couple of options in here that are kind of lighter. I think I will do Flare, which is this goldy kind of mint color. And I'll just put some of that on my, yeah, that's pretty. Again, not a ton of base. So this palette is good for this time of year. It's a little bit lighter. And I would say it's probably a little more user-friendly than some of the other palettes they've put out. I think that looks really nice. Okay, other eye. What do we want to do? Well, I think we have to feature Galaxy, which I thought was the other big star. But maybe we'll also feature a different color. So I'm going to grab Haze, which is this lavender color, and I'm going to place it through the crease. This is pretty. Their mattes are more on the drier side, but that's not a bad thing. They're really beautiful. They kind of remind me of like an ABH matte, which can be a lot easier to work with for some people. That's a pretty color. Okay, so let's go ahead and put Nebula, the more bright maroony kind of purple color that's in here. Let's put that on this eye and see if we see it. Yeah, this is already, I was going to say see if we see a difference, but this is a much more brighter color. The other one is more muted. And I'm going to put this over a good portion of the lid. I mean, if I cleaned this up right here, this would be a nice all matte look. Now this is an idea where something like the camouflage stilo, or the camouflage stilo from Chantecaille is great at cleaning up if these things kind of get away from you. And that one did get away from me a little bit. So let me just clean that up a little bit. And that worked really well. The other night, this is not a film review show, obviously, but I went to see Devil Wears Prada 2. And I will say that sequel had no business being as good as it was. Like, I thought, you know, with sequels, they can go kind of cheesy and silly. That one's really good. It's darker than the first one. I mean, where the first one was introducing the characters, this one is like trying to prove a point that there's a purpose for a magazine like Runway or Vogue. We all know what it's supposed to be. I really liked it. I thought it was really good. Of course, it's not going to have all the sort of... Well, Miranda has softened a little bit, but a lot of people do with age. I mean, that's not to be unexpected. And she's not a caricature of herself anymore. This is Galaxy. So beautiful. So I would recommend it. I think if you're going in for like a laugh a minute riot, it's not that movie. This one is a deeper movie than the first one, which some people will not like. I thought it was a nice compliment. And I mean, these are adults now. Anne Hathaway was like 22 when she made the first one. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with Aurora, this bright blue, which might be kind of crazy, but let's see what it looks like. Okay. That actually kind of works because there are blue reflex in that galaxy color. Really nice. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with Comet, which is this icy lavender color on the inner corner. Some of these are a little flakier than others, so you will want to warm some of them up in your finger a little bit. See, that's a different look. So there are at least, I would say, 3. I'm gonna pull them for you. Comet, Stars, and Flare. That can be inner corner colors in here. Okay, that Stars one is having trouble picking up for me. I've had this with some of their shadows in the past. I don't know why that is. But all 3 of those could be beautiful inner corner colors. But that middle one, I had to really go in there 3 or 4 times to get that swatch. So I don't know if it's something in their formula, but they're beautiful. It's just sometimes I have issues getting some of their shades to stick for some reason. Now, if you used a glitter glue or an Intensify wand, I don't think you'd have that problem. So there we have 2 different looks with the Skyfire palette, which is pretty. I mean, those are the colors that are inside. So really beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and put a liner in, and I'm just going to do, what is this called? Wood from Prada. Just a dark brown. Oh, laundry's done. Although I'll probably have to do 3 more passes with it because it never seems to get them completely dry on the first time. Okay. Looks really nice. Now I do have the new Prada, which I love, the Prada mascara. It's a little more like everyday. It's not as dramatic. They came out with a brown earlier this year, and it sold out really quick. Every time I tried to get it during the Sephora sale, it was sold out. So let's see what it looks like. It's got the same kind of spoolie where you can push up with one side. I'd say this one has a little burgundy in it, maybe. The Prada mascara, to me, is a little more subtle and lengthening than other brands, but it's not as, it's not going to create as much volume. It does lengthen, though. And you can use the flat side to put the product on, and then use the other side with the little spikes to separate. Although it doesn't really need a ton of that because, like I said, it's a lengthening mascara. But that one's got a little bit of burgundy in it. It's not as brown as, say, like the YSL one. This one's got a slight bit of like a burgundy in it. It goes really well with the wood, and it probably go well with the mahogany too, the liners from Prada. Okay, let's take a look at the under eye. No creasing yet. I would say the one that I powdered probably does look a slight bit smoother, but it's not a huge difference. So for lips, I just wanted to show you, I don't know that it will go, but the Gucci lip tints I really love, and one of the colors that was sold out for the entire Sephora sale was this Lucy Orange. I don't think it's going to go with this look at all, but at least you can see the color. No. Why does it not like me? I don't know. Okay. Okay, that's an interesting color. That really is a dark orange. Be beautiful in the fall. I don't know if these are getting as much buzz as I think they should. I think they are my favorite lip tint product on the market. They're really beautiful and glossy and shiny when they're on the lip, but then if you let it sit about 5 minutes, and I've been saying this over and over, if you let it sit about 5 minutes, it leaves the most beautiful stain on your lips, and it will stay there. That's really beautiful. Is it the right color for this look? No. But it at least shows you the color. Okay, I'm going to take it off because that's not the right color. Okay, it's only been on there a second, and I can already see that there's a little stain. I say leave it on like 5 minutes if you just want the staining, portion of it, and you don't want the shine. Another new product that was sold out during the sale but is back in stock is the new LoveNudes from YSL. They're softer, diffused lip products. And the color that was sold out for so long was this 3 a.m. espresso color, which I think is actually going to be really beautiful, with that eyeliner and that new mascara. So I think this will work better. It's a little more neutral. That orange is pretty warm. Yeah. It's just a beautiful, soft, matte kind of finish. And then finally today, the last thing we have is the new Dior Backstage Air Flash Mist. This is their new setting spray. I don't have any Dior setting sprays, so I'm excited to try this. Let's see, does it say made in France? France, 100 milliliters or 3.5 ounces. So let's see if this is a really fine mist or if it's going to clump on me. Okay, that's a pretty fine mist. It's not the finest. I think like the Pat McGrath liquid or the high shine one has like the super finest mist because it's an aerosol. This is not an aerosol. I think they used to have an aerosol, and I think this replaced it. But it does give a little bit of glow. That is a really pretty color on that YSL. It's not just a flat brown, it's got some mauve in it too, just like the mascara. So that's kind of a hodgepodge of a lot of stuff today that we've looked at, and I apologize for that, but it is how it happens. So we looked at the new Skyfire indie palette from What's Up Beauty. Really nice color story. A little trouble with some of the shadows adhering, but really beautiful. And don't worry about that. if you are, just use like the Intensify one or your favorite glitter glue. The new Prada mascara, obviously really beautiful. And then we looked and did a comparison of the Chantecaille, the Stilo, which has been out before, and the new Chantecaille Biolifting Concealer. Really beautiful. It's got a matte finish and it looks very nice so far. I would say the powder side does look a little bit smoother, but it's not a huge difference. So listen, if you like this kind of content and you like looking at comparisons and you like high-low like we did today, then I really would appreciate it if you would consider liking, subscribing, following along, shopping my links. Doesn't cost you anything, but really helps the channel. Unsolicited advice, Instagram and YouTube. Bye, everybody.